This video includes instructions for my Deadlock Silver lever action rifle, and it will cover all of the main printed parts and all the extra components that will be needed to complete the build, along with a demonstration of its assembly and functionality. I'll put a parts list on the screen right now for all of the extra components that will need to be bought, and then I'll flash them back up again as they are needed and introduced into the process. A quick overview of all the parts. We have the main barrel, these two pieces here with the muzzle, the handguards just behind it there on the edge. We have the stock, the grip, the butt plate, this piece to help align the barrel. We have the, I don't know what this would be called, but it's like a trunnion piece which holds the handguard onto the barrel and lines up for the buffer tube down here. We have some of the internals all down here, a couple of pins, the hammer, trigger, some bearings, screws and springs and washers. We have the main lever. We have the receiver left and right. It's in two pieces that get sandwiched together to hold it all into place. We have the bolt there. We have one of the shells which can be printed to function and eject out of the gun. Okay, so first I'm going to just assemble some of these pieces to get some stuff off the table and make it easier to work with. So first off, our front of our barrel is going to have the muzzle brake. This pattern is different on all sides. Here I put some aligning marks on it here. So there's 4 pins. One of them has a set of 3 holes, one of them has a set of 2 holes. You want the set of 3 holes at the top, and it should slide in like that, and it will just fit in like that. That can be glued into place to hold it in. Next, we have the barrel alignment. This can only go in one way. You want to have this flat part towards the back like this. So you slide that in. You want to apply glue, either super glue or 2-part epoxy, something like that, on one side. Push it in, put glue on the other side, and then you grab the barrel, the back end of the barrel, and here that will then slide over and hold the whole thing together as one unit for the barrel. Next, I'm going to take the trunnion thing, and that will literally just push on and it will rotate around the barrel. To hold that into place, I'll take the buffer tube, which I'll put this on the wrong way around. Make sure you put that on the right way around. It'll go on like that. And then the buffer tube will go in, and then you rotate this round to go in like that, and it should push into place. If it doesn't push into place, you might need to sand or Dremel around this bit and this hole here. I did a little bit on it, but it should just push down, turn around, and then lock into place. It holds itself there. That can all be glued in and held like that, and then that's one unit. We can also slide the front guard. Will just slide on like this. Apologies for the noise, it is horrible. But there we have the whole front end of the gun in one piece, and I'm going to put that to the side, and we'll come back to that later. Next, we'll do the back end of the gun, which will start off with the midsection of the stock. We'll take the butt plate, and it literally just pushes in like that. Glue that into place. This line is fine, that's in the design, but my printers, the Bambi Lab A1, are too small to do this in one piece. So that will then be glued there, and you can use car filler or something else to hide that seam. Sand it all back, and then you have your whole grip and stock assembly in one piece. Now moving on to the main internal area of the gun, we'll put the main spring assembly together, which is just 3 pieces. First off, this spring, I had to find this separately. It's not in any of the kits or anything. It should be a fairly common spring, but I'll put up the website and the dimensions. Next, we have the spring housing with a guide rod. So this spring just slides on like that, which this whole assembly will be tensioned. It will be compressed later on when we stick it into the gun. And this is the entrance for the buffer tube, which is where the shell will go into. The way this works is this will slide in like this. This whole assembly will go into the internal side of the buffer tube, and then your shell, when you push it into the gun, it will push into here, and it will push the whole spring system back like that. Next, I will quickly assemble some of these internal pieces. So we're going to need 6 of these bearings. They're all the same. They are 14 mil on the outside, 7 mil on the inside, and they are 5 mil in thickness. You're going to want 6 of those. And for the 2 internal pieces that use them, we have the I don't know what this piece would be called, but this is the bit on the lever action that gets fired out the back to cock the hammer back. We're going to want 4 on this, 2 on each side, like this. So just press on. Shouldn't need gluing or anything, but if they're too loose, you might need to glue them on. And then on this is the main bolt. So this is the piece which goes on the side, which will go backwards and forwards, which you'll see in this side window here. Along with, it has, let me grab the shell. Here it has the extractor, so when it pushes in, that's now locked into place. So by using that spring I just assembled, the spring pushes it into the extractor, which then pulls this whole thing back together and pulls it out of the tube. So just make sure that that's working. But when you give it a little bit of force, it should click into place and hold it. It shouldn't be loose, it should be really solid. And that will hold into place for when it gets knocked out by the ejector. But this bolt also has 2 of these same bearings on it. This one's harder to get to. So there we have the bolt. Next thing for the bolt, well, first off, let's grab our lever, and we're going to have this smaller 3D printed pin, which is going to be a tight fit. We're going to want to push it in like so, and probably need to hammer it in. You don't want to go all the way. You want it to be a nice 50-50, kind of like that. So it's kind of equal on each side. Then we'll take the bolt, and on the bottom of the bolt you'll see that there's this channel in the middle, which is designed for this arm to swing forwards and backwards into. So we're going to push it up the channel, and then we'll see right here, you see that's moving? So that's where a bolt or a screw is going to hold it in place, so that it will slide up and down this channel as it's levering backwards and forwards like that. The screw which we need for this is I believe it's an M3, yeah, M3, which is roughly 7 to 8 mil long, and it needs to have a 5.5 mil head on it. This is kind of important because I've designed this channel to perfectly fit this screw, so kind of need this exact one. Luckily it's a very, very common one. You should find it in loads of those just assorted screw kits. Okay. And here we'll grab the screw and then we'll put it in. And this screw, you want it to just tighten in until the head is flush with this outside wall. You don't want to go too far, because if you go too far, it gets locked in this channel here. So you want it to be like that, and then test it, go up and down. If you have the full range where it goes all the way up and all the way down, then that's perfect. That's all it needs, is that. So the lever and the bolt is now put together. Next, we'll work on the hammer catch. Now I need to remind myself which orientation this goes. So the hammer catch actually sits in here on the receiver, and all of the parts for it are here. These two springs, by the way, it doesn't matter about these ones. Just any small extension spring, which will fit in the space, should work. These ones are just from, again, one of those just variety packs of springs. Okay, so first off, I'm going to need, let me think. First off, I'm going to need the small screw with one of the washers, like this. Actually, let me check this screw for you. This screw is a M2, and it is roughly 7.5 to 8 mil long. This one's not entirely important, as long as you get one which fits in, which we're going to put in. So this is the orientation that's going to be inserted in. This screw needs to go on the back side through this hole. We're going to take our screw with a washer on it. We're going to take our spring. We're going to go into the inside of the spring like that. Then we're going to take the hook and we're going to feed it into the back side of the hook. Like so. Okay. Don't want it to be too tight, but it needs to be holding the spring on. There we go. Next, we're going to take the longer screw, which again should be an M2 by 12. We're going to take another washer and then put the washer on the long screw. Then we're going to go here, and if you see here, there's this tiny little hole. We're going to feed the screw into the hole a little bit, and then we're going to feed the spring into place and hold it there. It's hard to see what I'm doing with the camera in the way. We're literally just going to hold the spring into place and then capture it with this screw, which I believe I've done. And I'm just going to tighten it up to make sure it's not going to go anywhere. You might not need that washer on there, but that's just a thin bit of plastic, so I just want to help spread that around a bit. Next, we're going to orientate the latch properly and hold it into place with this screw, which will be a M3 by 15. So I'm going to feed it through the latch. It should freely flow in, or feed straight through it. Since we don't want, this is the pivot point, so you don't want it to be binding. and then we're going to feed it into the receiver body. Okay, and then you want it tight but not too tight, so that, see, it's not pulling back on its own. So if you just hold it up like that and then slowly undo it until the spring very energetically snaps back on its own like that. So that's the latch for the hammer. Okay, next we will put the trigger in. So our trigger is going to have, let's see the screw first. So the screw is a M5 by 15 or 16 mil. We're going to take the screw with a washer, then the trigger, then another washer, and then we're going to put it into this hole here, the big one. We're just going to feed it in first, and then you want to make sure that this little arm that sticks out is sitting on top of the receiver here, but underneath this arm here. And then we're going to tighten that finger tight, and if the trigger doesn't reset itself, then untighten it a little bit, and there you go. Trigger should reset by itself. Next we're going to move on to the hammer. So first we're going to take the pin, which has a rib off to one side like that. So you just push it into the hole, and that will stop it from going all the way through, and hold it into place when the gun is fully assembled. Next, onto the hammer, we are going to have on this mount point here, you can see it's two separate pieces. So we're going to take our spring, which again doesn't matter what spring, as long as it just fits in the area, it should do the job. We're going to put it in there, and then we're going to take our longer screw, which we're going to check. That is an M3 by 10 mil. Most of these screws should just be available in the random assortment packs of machine screws, so it shouldn't be too hard to find them. So we're going to feed the screw in like that, hold the spring like that, and then tighten it. Okay. And there we go. That spring is now trapped in there. Okay, next we're going to take our smaller screw, which I believe is another M3 by 8. We're going to put a washer on it, like that. Then we're going to orientate this the correct way around. We're going to feed it into the spring attachment point like that. Take the Allen, hold it in place, and then this is going to go into the final hole right here. Okay, don't want it to be perfectly tight because we want a little bit of movement on the spring. So I'm just going to loosen it off a tiny bit so that spring can pivot around. Next we're going to force the hammer over the pivot point and then slide it down so it gets locked onto that, and then we can check the whole mechanism to make sure it works. So the hammer will be pushed back like this, and it will click past this little latch and be held into place, and then the trigger, when you pull it, will fire the hammer back up, and when the two pieces are together it will just stop there again like that. Next, for the internals, we have the resetting piece, which slides along this rail, so it should just fit straight into there. And then we have the bolt and lever assembly. So we want to put the bolt needs to go with that little, this piece here, this little finger that sticks up needs to be in that gap somewhere, doesn't matter exactly where. And then we need to slide this pin into the pivot hole here. And then this whole assembly should then function like that. Once all these internals are in place like this, you just need to hold it into place. You'll grab the other half, which is a mirror image pretty much, with a few changes. Line up the two pinholes, and then there's this chunk here which helps locate it into place. And just push it down. You can glue these two pieces together if you're happy with it and want it to stay solid, or you can just leave it together because it's just quite a tight fit. You have to fully pry it apart to get the two pieces apart. But then we'll see the full mechanism will then work like that. So as we pull it back, you can see the bolts moving back. That little finger is then pushing up on this piece, which is coming back to lock the hammer on the little latch. And as we swing it back into place, we can then pull the trigger, which releases the latch and sends the hammer back forward. That is now the middle section and the mechanics of the gun now complete. So now we're going to move on to the final assembly. So just going to put this to the side for 1 second. Now we're going to come back to our front section of the gun with the buffer tube on the internals and our spring system. Now on our middle section of the barrel, we'll see here, there's a hole right there, which is going to be for this guide rod to slide in and out of. So we're going to feed this in like this, and then you'll see the guide rod will be right there. Should barely be poking through, and as you put the shell in, it'll push the guide rod through the hole just to give it some clearance down the buffer tube. But to lock this whole spring into place, because as you can see it's trying to fire its way out, what we have to do is take this little entrance tube, and there's a flat spot along the top. I'm going to just take some super glue, or again 2-part epoxy, it doesn't really matter, and we're just going to give it a big dollop on the top there. So I'm going to line the spring back up into it, and then we're going to slide this back, and we're going to have to hold this in place until that glue dries. Okay, the glue has now dried on this buffer tube piece. As you can see, that's the spring in there. You can then take a shell and you can push it in. Yeah, the spring's working. If you push it all the way through, it should go like that and force its way back out. Okay, next, let's reassemble the barrel. Again, actually, let me just glue this together now because I have no need for it not to be glued. Put a big bit of glue on it there. Put it out this way. I'm going to grab it this side and do the same. Like that. Then we'll slide the grip on to the front position. Again, you can use car filler or something else to fill that little seam. And you can glue the handguard and the trunnion in place. I'm going to leave it like this because I want to, when I finish this gun, I'm going to separate all these pieces, paint them all individually, and then glue them together. It'll be probably easier to do it that way, but the barrel with the muzzle will be the same colour, but this piece and the handguard will be separate, so I'm not going to glue them into place just yet. But for demonstration purposes, for how this all goes together, I'm going to leave it like this. Okay, next we will take our middle section here. Now for for this to actually work, and to hold it together properly, I'm just going to tack this together. But again, for the finished version, I'm going to separate this, paint them separately, and then glue this on properly. But you'd want to glue that handguard onto the little tang that sticks out, which will sandwich the two receiver halves together so they can't come apart on the back side. It holds them together, as well as when you're trying to lever the gun, you're pushing downwards on the handle, which kind of pivots the gun and breaks it open. So this needs to be glued to hold it together. If you want to take this gun apart, you could probably drill a hole and just put a screw into that so you can screw the handguard on. That would also make it easier to break it down if you want to put it into like a smaller box or something when you're traveling. But now solidified enough, so just to show, so you can hold the handguard like this and then put it all the way back, push it forward, so you have the whole motion. If you go all the way back, you need to also make sure that you do the full stroke, because if you don't go far enough, this won't lock. So just make sure you go all the way forward, like that, and then all the way back. Now for the front section, this is where it gets a little awkward. So on the upper barrel, you can see it is hollow. So you have a little nub that sticks out there, which slides into it, and then this buffer tube entrance needs to slide into the bottom thing. But then at the same time, if you see here, there is a trench around that. So this bit here needs to also be flush inside that little trench. So we're going to push it together. And again, I would recommend gluing this because the buffer tube, that spring, so that's pushed together now. So the spring which is inside the buffer tube is going to be pushing on the shell between the bolt and the buffer tube. And when you push that spring in, it's just going to eject itself outwards. This whole barrel assembly will be pushed outwards. So you need to glue this in very securely. Super glue will probably do it, but 2-part epoxy, if you never want it to ever come apart ever again, that will definitely work. But for demonstration purposes, I'm going to hold it together. Let me move that out of the way. So I'm going to be applying, when I grab this front section, I'm going to be applying a pressure this way to stop it from flying apart. But ideally you would glue it in and it should hold itself together. So first off, you're going to pull the lever all the way forward, which will then expose the buffer tube there. You can then feed the shell in like that, and then as you push and pull on the lever, a bit too. As you push and pull the lever, you'll see it will move forwards and backwards. Now, as you saw when you pushed it forward, or when I pushed it forward, it grabbed the shell. So you see it's pulling it backwards now out of the buffer tube. And then if you go too slowly, it will just drop out. So you need to pull it back with a certain amount of force. So forward and then back will fire out. It's kind of awkward to do from this angle, but when you're holding it in the proper ready position, you can really swing it and it will fire that shell out the side, which I can demonstrate. Let me see if I can get it lined up to show you. It's just very awkward because I don't have a lot of space here. But I'll put the shell in and you'll see. So you put it forward, you can shoot, you put it back, and you see it's gone slowly. so it's not going to do it. So I'm going to apply pressure because the front section is trying to fire stuff away, and I'll go fast. Do it again, see if I can get it on camera bow. There you go. Now you put another one in, and it'll thing out. Again, I got the gun at a kind of an upwards angle, so it's a bit awkward. Ideally, you'd hold it in a shooting position like this, so it'll flash straight to the side. But that is all there is to it. It's a very simple mechanism, very fun little design. It just needs to be glued and painted, which I'm not going to do in this video. This is just instructions on how to put it together. It just needs taking apart, sanding, priming, painting, maybe a bit of weathering, because I know on the you might need a bit of weathering, because I know on the in-game model she has, because she's got the werewolf hand, there are claw marks on the front grip, which I would never even attempt to model into the thing. But with the art style of Deadlock, it doesn't really come across as 3D. It kind of comes across as flat, and then they're kind of painted in. So I think painting them on is the best option. But if you want them to be 3D, you can use what I've done before. Is I got a soldering iron with like a chisel tip, and then you can just melt the plastic. You don't need it to be too hot, but you can melt the plastic and carve in some claw marks, and then use some car filler to fill in some of the gaps and stuff and smooth it out to make it look really nice. That's how I've put dents and scratches into some of my props before, especially on helmets. That's a good way of doing it on helmets. So that's an option. To finish off the assembly, I have the rear iron sight and Picatinny rail section with the iron sight peephole, which will slide into place, and you'd probably want to glue it. It slides in like that. As you see there, slides in like that. Then you have the front section as well. These two pieces go like that inside of the channel, which is in the print. So this front piece goes in like that, and it steps up here, which is why the second piece doesn't come down as far on the bottom there. But then that piece goes in there like that, and then that just needs a bit of glue to hold it into place, and that will have the whole sight assembly together there. That is the whole thing completed when everything is glued and painted and ready to be used.